Wes Goldberg, happy Tuesday. Thinking about where we are in the NBA season, we think about the good teams, the MVP race. We're going to talk about some of that today. But I have just a very simple question for you. Of the teams that are, let's say, 500 and below, who do you actually like watching when you're flipping around League Pass?
Teams that are below 500?
Yeah, there's a method to my perhaps madness here. So do you want me to just tell you my answer to this?
I mean,
It's easy. This is a very easy. It's Portland for me. I
okay.
saw Portland in person, playing the Cavs, and I came away really impressed. And I now they're on my list of teams I want to win the Cooper Flag Lottery. Just in terms of clearly need a superstar, but they play hard. Billups has done actually I think a really good job with that team this year. It's like trade Simons probably to clear off for Shaden and Scoot. Hopefully Scoot hits his potential, but I kind of like the Blazers. Not gonna lie.
Well, they might not have a chance at the Cooper Flag Lottery. They might have a better shot at actually making the play-in tournament. At this point, they're only
yeah.
I mean, 4 games back of Dallas in that 10 seed, but Dallas without Kyrie Irving, it sounds like Anthony Davis might get shut down for the rest of the year. I don't think Phoenix is making any headway here. It just feels like they're waiting for the end of the season to happen. Portland's winning some games. They're 5-5 in their last 10. To your point, like Shaden Sharp is just dunking everything. Scoot Henderson is showing some flashes. Tamani Kamara just made all the February Defensive Player of the Month or whatever, and he's been great. So
Yeah, he's awesome.
Portland's a good pick. I like Portland. That's a good pick.
I think that it's like them and
I don't mind watching Atlanta. The Dyson Daniels show. I mean, he's an Emmy Award-winning defensive player. And then I like watching New Orleans when Zion's playing.
Yeah, Zion remained I watched them play the Suns like a week and a half ago, and I was like, why am I watching this? But also, it was kind of an interesting game for the Zion unguardable nature of Zion that still kind of exists. But Portland, I think, is my answer. On today's show, Kyrie Irving's done for the year. We're going to talk about what that even means for the Dallas Mavericks and what they do now. We're talking about Kevin Durant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and his stranglehold on the MVP race, and who even is going to get the 10 seed out west. That's all coming up today on the Just Basketball Show. Let's go.
LeBron James with no regard for human life.
What is up, everyone? Chris Manning and Wes Goldberg here on the Just Basketball Show. Thanks for tuning in. We're twice weekly show covering all things hoops. Find us on YouTube, your podcast platform of choice, 5-star reviews only, and we are powered by our friends at BetMGM.
That's right. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code JUSTBASKETBALL, and you'll get up to $1,500 on a first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android. Sign up using the code JUSTBASKETBALL. Deposit at least $10. Place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. Just make sure to use the bonus code JUSTBASKETBALL when you sign up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older to wager. Terms and conditions apply.
Wes, let's dive into topic number 1 today, and that is that the Dallas Mavericks, and excuse my French, are fucked. They're just fucked. Like, this is done. And Kyrie Irving has a torn ACL. You could tell immediately when you watch the play from Monday that this was, it wasn't good. There was no way you could look at that and say that was going to be okay. It seems like Anthony Davis might get you down, and frankly, I was trying to rack my brain of a case for him to play this year, and I couldn't come up with a reasonable one. And I candidly don't really know what the right way forward here for them and his organization is. Even an aggressive tank job for them the rest of the year isn't really going to do them so much good that it gets them necessarily a much better chance at a higher pick. They traded Luka, and their ability to sink opened up. I think a result I think we maybe underrated the depths that this could possibly go wrong in short order. It has now all kind of gone wrong in short order. This is absolutely cooked. And on top of that, Wes, the worst PR hit of the week for them in some ways was that they raised ticket prices amid all of this. And frankly, if I could just consult any team, but specifically the Mavs in this moment, the easiest PR win you can give yourself is to just say, we're not raising ticket prices for the next 12 months. We understand eggs and chicken and all of these things that you buy for your home are going to be more expensive the next 12 months. Buying a smartphone is going to get more expensive. We're just not going to raise tickets for 12 months. The Mavericks, after trading Luka Doncic, raise tickets. This is a disaster season for them, and this Kyrie thing is the cherry on top of the shit sundae.
Yeah, to the point of the raising the ticket prices, you can go back to Nico Harrison's press conference. After the colossal mistake that the Luka Doncic trade was, they've doubled down, they've tripled down, they've quadrupled down. They keep trying to raise their own bet and back up their bet when faced with the reality that nobody liked this. And so it's been an awful PR thing for Dallas, even after the Luka trade and everything that you talked about, whether they should tank or shut the season down for this player and whatever. I suppose these are basketball decisions that they have to make because they're still a basketball team, ostensibly.
Kind of, yeah.
And so I get it. And Zach Lowe tweeted this after the Kyrie news, and I think it kind of succinctly summarized everything in a good way, where when you made the Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis trade, it was a bad trade. But the logic, at least, that Nico Harrison expressed was that this was a bet to win a championship within the next 1 or 2 years. And you've now lost this entire season, thereby cutting your championship window in half.
Yeah.
And they are just walking this razor's edge. But again, this is all on-court basketball related stuff that Mavericks fans are not even ready to have this conversation. And I don't know when they will. I feel so bad for this fan base. They had their player torn away from them. And the thing that the Mavericks ownership and Nico Harrison fundamentally misunderstood was the nature of the sports fan. And look, I don't think that every general manager should be thinking about fans when they're making the moves, right? If fans were in charge of teams, it would be there's a reason they're not, right? GMs have a hard job.
You could go through every single team and you could find like a group of fans who believe something that is so fundamentally wrong that would like make a team season worse. That you're absolutely right. Like you can't take these things seriously all the time.
Right. Every fan base wants the backup quarterback to be the starting quarterback, right? Like
Cavs fans like believe Imani Bates is like a good NBA player, and I'm just like, guys, like you have Ty Jerome staring in front of you. It's okay.
So that's not necessarily the point that I'm trying to make, but then you go back to the doubling and the tripling and quadrupling down, and it's just very clear that they don't understand this. And the thing that they don't understand is it's not just the fan base just doesn't want to just win. They want to win with their guy. You just stripped Luka Doncic away from this team, a guy who expressed time after time that he wanted to be the next Dirk Nowitzki. He was beloved by Dallas sports fans like nobody else since Dirk Nowitzki. And you just traded him away months after he led your team to an NBA Finals. And so I don't know how they bounce back from this as a business. Because even if the Anthony Davis didn't get hurt and Kyrie Irving didn't get hurt, you and I both agree this team wasn't winning a championship this year. Let's say they make it miraculously to the Western Conference Finals this year. Mavericks fans are not going to feel as good about this team anymore. And what this ownership group has done is lose the trust of the fan base to the point where I don't know that there is a return. And Chris, I live in Miami, and the Florida Marlins, now the Miami Marlins, won the World Series in 1997. Just a few years after they were created.
Yeah, I'm aware.
That's right. I don't need to tell you that.
Yeah, okay.
They also won the World Series again in 2003. And then shortly after they beat the Yankees in the 2003 World Series, they brought back their team for another year. A stacked roster: Miguel Cabrera, Dontrell Willis, all these guys.
Shout out Josh Beckett, man, real one.
Josh Beckett. 2 years later, traded everybody because they didn't want to pay the prices, and then they blamed it on the fact that they didn't own their own stadium and the X, Y, and Z. And there was a moment where Miami could have become a baseball town. It could have been. 2 World Series wins in 7 years. We could have been a baseball town. And then no matter what the Marlins do now, because of their decisions in the early 2000s, and ever since then for the record, but really because of the early 2000s, they've lost the entire fan base's trust. Miami will never be a baseball town now. Even though it had maybe the most promising start to a baseball organization that Major League Baseball has ever seen, Miami will never be a baseball town again. I don't think I'm overstating this by saying I don't know that Dallas will ever be a basketball town again.
Yeah.
I think the Mavericks lost the trust of the fan base, and I don't think that they can ever get it back. And a Kyrie Irving injury is devastating, but it doesn't really matter when it comes to the fan base, but it just underscores this tumultuous and disastrous and apocalyptic season that the Mavericks have had. This organization will never be the same, and Dallas will never be the same after it. I don't see how it could be.
They don't even, and to your point about just like the window's cut in half. Like the window was already very thin. It was already very narrow in the best case scenario. I think anyone with, that wasn't Nico Harrison would have told you that.
No, Nico Harrison even told you that.
Yeah, it's true. Kyrie's probably not. Let's just say Kyrie's back like December of next year at the earliest, and he's on the wrong side of 30. Are we like sure Kyrie Irving is going to come back? Like, he's been great since he got to Dallas. Like, absolutely, like incredible renaissance. Deserves a ton of credit for that.
All NBA type season right now, before the injury.
What are you getting when he comes back next year? I have no idea. He's a point guard on the wrong side of 30. This is not a like anti-Kyrie, like he can't come back thing. This is a practicality of what NBA history tells us about injuries to point guards.
And
on top of that,
they're going to have to give him the 4-year max. What do you can't. We already knew that Kyrie Irving had Dallas bent over a barrel this summer, and now he still does, despite the ACL injury. It's going to be sick
when he signs with the Lakers for like the minimum and like gets like a rehab year in LA. It's going to be sick.
I mean, can Dallas can't afford that?
I'm joking that
I know, but to your point, but it's still a good point to bring up. Dallas still has to give Kyrie Irving the max.
Yeah,
and this is an ACL injury. To your point, Kyrie Irving's getting older. This is an ACL injury late in the season. This is going to probably trickle into at least the beginning of next season. This is an unmitigated disaster, no matter what. No matter what.
This is. I cannot think of. There's like, Wes, we do lists from time to time. I don't even know like who would even compare in a list of like fan bases I would least like to trade places with right now. Like, I think Browns fans have a running, the ones that didn't believe in Deshaun Watson, but I think this is worse.
I can't imagine. This would be.
I would be in a straitjacket.
Chris, this would be the Cavs trading LeBron in 2008. This would be the Miami Heat trading Dwayne Wade in 2008, I guess, same draft class. This would be. This would be the Spurs trading Victor Wembanyama 3 years from now.
This is the Cavs not paying Ty Jerome the maximum amount they can this summer. It's like that.
It would be almost as devastating, or Luka would be almost as devastating.
Yeah.
I still can't believe Luka Doncic is a Laker every time I watch a Lakers game. It's still surreal.
It's never gonna look not surreal. Like, I'm always gonna feel like I'm like watching a jersey swap, like in Twitter posts.
Did you ever
2013.
Did you ever play Madden or NBA 2K like franchise mode, and then you would like let the computers do trades or something?
Did you ever do like the fantasy draft? Or do like the fantasy draft,
or even just like you would have like the regular teams, but then the computer would make this crazy trade, and then you would get frustrated. You're like, this would never happen. You ruined my franchise mode, and then you would just reset the franchise mode.
Yes,
that's kind of what Dallas just did by trading Luka. There is nobody on the planet other than Lakers fans that's happy about this trade. It's stupid. It's dumb, and it took a really fun Dallas Mavericks team that just made the finals and made them completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I don't know that there's anything like this in the NBA, and I know that we're completely off topic. We're not even talking about Kyrie Irving anymore. But
we are all coping with the death of the Dallas Mavericks,
and we're not going to stop. And we're not going to stop.
No,
I don't. To me, I think there was that conspiracy theory that Dallas is like the ownership is trying to move the team to Vegas or whatever it is. And it seemed patently crazy at the time, and I still don't believe that that's why you traded Luka Doncic, because even then the logic falls apart. But
and people, and like Wendy and others have like vehemently like shut this down. We should just say like,
yeah, I will say this though, they should just do that.
Yeah, Mark Cuban can like save face here and like pay the expansion fee for the new Mavs. Like, honestly,
start it over, send them to Vegas. It's the only way to get Dallas, that fan base
Yeah.
back into basketball at this point. I don't know. Maybe I'm overstating it. I got to talk to my Dallas Mavericks friends, but like I know that they're dealing with a lot right now. So I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
hope
wait to
they're
send
all
the wellness
hope
check.
they're all just like nursing a beer and like enjoying like a
Nursing.
substance. Look, you gotta. This isn't a thing you can junker in one night. This is like you're gonna be sipping for like 5 years.
This is a bender, dude.
This is you buy a loose cigarette at like 3 a.m. energy.
This is
you know?
no. This is coming back on a Monday night from work and just being like, it's been a long week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're like, all right, straight bourbon, no ice. Just give me just some makers, straight in the cup.
And even like I'm a Heat fan. The Heat have played the Mavericks twice in the finals. There's not exactly a cozy relationship between the Heat and the Mavericks, and I feel horrible for Mavericks fans. I can't imagine what they're going through right now. Your favorite player willingly traded away.
Yeah.
If you were
top 5 player in the
actually,
NBA.
and here's the point. Like, I guess if you're like a 9-year-old Mavericks fan who love Luka, and you don't even
no
remember,
longer you're no longer you're not
No,
a
you're a
Mavericks
Lakers fan now,
anymore.
right?
You're a Lakers fan now. Yes.
and you could not. If that were my son, for instance, and I was like a lifelong Mavericks fan, and my son was 9 and just only loved Luka and said, "I'm going to start rooting for Luka on the Lakers," I'd say, "Godspeed, son.
Yeah.
You are now a Lakers fan. I'll buy you the jersey. You don't deserve this."
Yeah, full-heartedly agree. Speaking of the basketball side of this, we have absolutely disgusting race for the 10th seed in the Western Conference. This is just gross.
Mm-hmm.
Mavericks are 32-30. Okay, they're the leading for that right now. I don't think anyone should like their odds of holding on to that in theory. But then you look, okay, 11th, Suns are 28-33. At 12th, the Blazers are 28-34, and the Spurs are 24-24. All right, I mistyped it. 24-34. Something like that. I mistyped that. That's my fault. They're 13th, and
It's okay. The records don't matter. Just people
they don't have
need
Victor
the
Wembanyama.
standings.
They don't have Victor Wembanyama anymore, and they're not competing for the 10th seed. Honestly, I'm not even sure. Like this, I was like doing the thought exercise. I'm not even sure who gets the 10 seed. Like it all matters. Like if let's just say the Suns get the 10 seed, it doesn't like they're gonna lose to these teams. Like if it's the Wolves or the Kings or the Clippers, whoever is at 9 among that group, because I feel like the Warriors have a shot at pulling ahead into 6 and like really controlling 6.
They're in
That
6 right now, but yeah,
and that
point.
feels positive they could control it and not like dip back down. No one who is 9 is going to be like stressed out about winning that game. They just kind of know like, okay, we got to just take care of business in the first one, and then the second one's the hard one. None of these teams are good that are going to be the 10 seed at the bottom of the plane in the West right now. None of these teams are exciting. None of them, like the Blazers in some ways are the best story because they've just been scrappy and playing hard and they're young and all of this stuff, but it doesn't like do them much good to get to that spot. The Suns will just get dusted by 25 in that game, and Kevin Durant's getting traded anyway. We'll talk about Durant next. Like, none of this is inspiring as far as the end of the play-in tournament in the West. None of it.
Yeah, and I don't know that any of these teams want to make it. Phoenix is the only team that makes any sense to want to make the play-in tournament because they can at least talk themselves into, well, we have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Maybe we can make a run here. But
they also then have to spend more time together. Like, it's a couple more days, everyone clocking in, you know?
So, well, I'm at the point now. It feels like when the NBA instituted the play-in tournament that they kind of expanded their college football playoff to 12 teams right away. And I think the CFP being in 12 teams is ridiculous. And I know that we fought about Clemson or SMU or Alabama as a 12 seed. And that was like a legitimate argument that people were having. And the entire time I was like, who gives a bleep? Like, who cares? None of these teams are winning like, who cares? And I'm kind of at the point now where we're talking about, well, who's going to get the 10 seed in the West and who's going to make the play-in in the East? And I'm like, who cares? Because ultimately what we're talking about is which team is going to play an 83rd game this season and then lose. It doesn't matter. And so I know that we kind of have to talk about it because it is the standings and it does fundamentally matter about who makes a play-in tournament or not. But to your point, Chris, nobody's advancing. None of these teams that are 9-10, nobody has advanced in those spots. Nobody will advance in those spots. And then if somebody does advance to those spots, they're going to get swept in the first round anyway. So I'm honestly kind of at the point now where I think the NBA should just shrink the play-in tournament. I don't think it should include the 10th seed in the conference. It kind of feels ridiculous. Let the top 7 in, let 8 and 9 battle it out. If you really want the TV product that the play-in tournament is in, you still keep that week. Just let 8 and 9 battle it out. One game takes all. Top 7 get in. That's it. The fact that we're talking about 10 teams now, that it feels ridiculous, and nobody cares, and it just feels like a chore to deal with it at this point. And plus, these teams that are in 10, a lot of these teams want to be tanking. To your point, like Portland might back themselves into the 10 seed. They don't want that. Maybe they do now, like the players of course do, but as an organization, the plan was kind of to tank. And they're not doing a great job of it. You look in the Eastern Conference, Chicago's the same way. They traded a bunch of their players. They're trying to tank. They're going to be stuck in the 10 seed in the Eastern Conference. There's nothing that they can do to get lower. They don't want to be there. So I don't know. I'd say get rid of it. Shrink the play-in tournament. One game, winner take all. If anything, it's even more exciting because it's just one game, winner take all.
Well, it's not even just a thought exercise. It's not even like the East is any better, you know?
It's not.
So you have 7 right now, the Heat, 8 Orlando, who don't have Jalen Suggs for the rest of the year. An absolute bummer. Hope Jalen Suggs shaves his head while he's gone. Just saying. Atlanta Hawks, 28 and 33, and then the Bulls are 24 and 37.
Right.
Like, why are the Bulls in this?
Right.
Like, why do I like? What
They're
do we do?
4 games back of Atlanta. Now reframe it into my scenario here. Miami would just get in if the standings were frozen. Miami would get in.
Celtics,
along
Boston,
with Detroit
round
as the
one.
6th seed.
Celtics, Boston, round 1. Sign me up.
Yeah. And then you would just have Orlando versus Atlanta in a winner-take-all for the 8th seed. That seems fun. Both of those teams are within a half game of each other. And in the Western Conference, let's say you have the Warriors and the Clippers. They're both in. That seems about right. And then you'd have Sacramento versus Minnesota as the 8-9 game, winner-take-all. That team makes the play-in tournament. I don't know why I'm even bothering talking about this. The NBA continues to make the wrong decisions over and over again with their schedule. There's just a better product just sitting there for the NBA at all times, and they refuse to acknowledge that and embrace it.
So I'm putting a pin in this now, Wes, because I think what we've come around this idea a couple of times in the show. I don't know whether I feel like maybe the week of the play-in as like a silent passive protest to the play-in being garbage. We should do like how we would fix the NBA calendar. That's an episode.
I've got ideas.
I'm saying let's just cook. Let's just cook and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's coming up. Kevin Durant. Speaking of teams that are going nowhere, the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant. So we're going to do a where should Kevin Durant play next year exercise because he's getting traded. Kevin Durant is getting traded this summer.
Mm-hmm.
If he is on the Phoenix Suns next year, Wes, I will go to Turkey and get my hair fixed. Okay, that is something I am vehemently against. Just go to therapy instead of going to Turkey. This is like a long-standing take for me, but I will do it if Kevin Durant is on the Suns. Okay, like I will do something I will do something ridiculous if he is on the Suns. I'll get a Suns tattoo on my arm if Kevin Durant is on the Suns next year. Like there's just no way. There's no way.
23:57 mark of this podcast. Mark that down. Save it.
I will eat. What are those stupid chips? What are those stupid cheese things Brennan was telling us about in Phoenix? I'll eat that for a week. I'll eat that for a week as my whole diet.
They're called like
Kevin
new
Durant
cheese or something? I don't know.
Something ridiculous. Whatever that was, I will just eat that.
Kevin Durant's
for a
getting
week.
traded.
I came up with 3 options that I would be interested in for him. 3 different categories is the way that I frame this. How many did you come up with? One? Did you come up with?
I have 9 teams that I think could realistically pursue Durant this summer.
Okay, you went realistically. I just went like one. I went 3 I want to see, and
Okay.
one I think is the one that is both the most realistic and probably the most likely.
Mm-hmm.
One would be kind of bizarre, but I kind of want to see it, and one has no chance in hell of happening. But I want to be heard out on it. Let's see if mine overlap with yours, and we'll go from there. Number 1, the super fun option in the West that I think is the most likely, that's the San Antonio Spurs.
I have him on my list.
Him, Wemby, and Fox plus Castle is, I think, perfect. I think it's a really ideal setup for him as he ages, and he can settle into being that comfortable role veteran guy for a really great young core. Him and Chris Paul as the OGs on that team for one more year next year. He can finish out his career there and eventually, I think, chase another championship or something there. I think that to me just feels like the most sensible one, even more than like Houston. I know that the more I think about the Houston one, I don't know if I like that for Houston, even though I think they're going to do something aggressive this summer.
Yeah, I'm with you on Houston. I wouldn't do it. And then with the Spurs, I've talked about Kevin Durant to San Antonio for a while. I like the idea that Tom Haberstroh came up with in terms of like likening Victor Wembanyama to what Dwayne Wade was early in Wade's career, and then the Heat just traded for Shaq, and they said, just the hell with it, let's just go for it. We think this guy could be really good on a championship-winning team right now. And it worked. In 2006, the Heat won a championship. I think the Spurs should be treating Victor Wembanyama like a rookie quarterback. Right? You've seen teams like the Eagles and these other teams say, well, we've got this quarterback who we think is good enough right now to run our offense and win a Super Bowl. So while we have him on this rookie scale contract, let's just soup up the roster around him. And Victor Wembanyama is not close to hitting his prime. He's already probably one of the best 10 players in the league. And he's making $12 million a year. He's making less than the mid-level. He's the best contract in the league. Soup up the roster around him. Go for it. Who cares? Like, what are we talking about here? I love that they traded for De'Aaron Fox, and I think they should just chase Durant this summer. Why not? Throw a couple of contracts. Here's Keldon Johnson, a couple other things. They got a bunch of draft picks. Throw that all at Phoenix and see if you can get Kevin Durant to go there. Now, the thing with KD is that he, like De'Aaron Fox, is going to have quite a bit of leverage because he has the ability to either sign the extension or deny the extension this summer. And if he denies the extension, he becomes a free agent in 2026. This is exactly what De'Aaron Fox was dealing with. De'Aaron Fox let the rest of the league know, I want to go to San Antonio. And if you trade for me, that's fine, but I'm not going to sign an extension. I'm going to sign with San Antonio in 2026. So the rest of the league has sort of backed off. San Antonio got De'Aaron Fox for nothing, basically. And now we're here. Kevin Durant can kind of do the same thing where he says, this is the place I want to be, and then direct himself to his desired destination. And then that team might not have to give up a whole lot for Kevin Durant. I don't know that Durant wants to go to San Antonio, but playing with Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox would be a lot of fun. I don't know, but it's a fun thought exercise. Not my number one option, but I had it on my list.
37 at the start of next year kind of makes me wonder how much leverage he can kind of wield.
There's going to be teams.
Yeah, I think there'll be teams, but I'm saying in terms of like the Fox comparison, if he's 37 and not in his prime, I think that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think you want to lose him for nothing, no matter what.
Right.
And that's sort of going to be the thing. There could be teams though that look at him and say, we kind of are ready to lose you for nothing. Maybe we can get off some long-term contracts. We get Kevin Durant for a year as a one-year rental. We kind of go for it. And then we understand that he's going to come off our books in 2026 anyway, and that frees up our cap space. Like, I'm sure Philadelphia would love to trade Paul George for Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? Like, Phoenix wouldn't do it. But here's another crazy thought exercise. What if Boston said, we'll give you Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant?
I don't think that's entirely crazy if this is the summer they decide to like unplug the roster mess.
Yeah, and there's obviously the reason I don't have the Celtics on my list is the easier way is just trade Drew Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis, and then you're basically out of the second apron, and you don't have to move a former Finals MVP off your roster. But Jaylen Brown's gonna be making $60 million a year. I don't know that they're psyched to pay him that forever.
Yeah,
you could kind of get out of jail free on that. Again, I don't think the Celtics would do it, but it's the sort of thought exercise that I was thinking about.
All right, give me one of the other ones on your list.
What about the Knicks?
I was thinking about them. I am just so in the mind, Wes, that I think like if he could redo it, he probably would have just gone to the Knicks in the first place.
Yeah, now he's got a chance. And if you're the Knicks, you say, hey, remember Mikal Bridges? You wish you had him back? Here's Mikal Bridges. Here's Miles McBride. Whatever draft. I think they have one draft pick that they can move maybe. Here's some stuff. You're rebuilding. We got Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Kevin Durant. Now we can go toe-to-toe with the Boston Celtics.
Don't hate it. Don't hate that at all. I still think they'd have to figure out the center thing, but I think like Durant as like a offensive failsafe for them, like I think is good. And him off of Brunson and Cat as he gets older is a really good landing spot for him.
Not my favorite landing spot either, but another one that was interesting.
I'm going to give you my most depressing one, but one I think has some nostalgia to it.
Oklahoma City?
No, the Washington Wizards.
He's not going to do that.
I know, but if he went to the Wizards and played in his home area to end his career, and he's like the guy who helps them like normalize themselves for 2 years, could think of like there's like a fitting. He's not going to do it. This will not happen. But I was thinking about like how could I like close the arc on Kevin Durant, like the basketball nomad kind of malcontent, and if he just goes home and like helps fix the Wizards for 2 years, could think of like worse ways for that bow to get kind of tied up.
I hate that.
Good.
I hate it so much, and it would totally suck. It would totally suck.
What if they
Kevin
got
Durant
Cooper
is still
Flag?
fun to watch. Now I have to watch
What if they-
Wizards games? What, Kevin Durant just always wanted to play with Jordan Poole. He's just upset that
Yeah,
they
I
didn't
don't know.
overlap in Golden State. Like, that would...
This is all about the DMV, and there's not a team in Austin, Texas, and I know he has like the Spurs are the closest thing. So just try to think of the nostalgia pool.
I tend to push back on the idea that players want to play in their hometown. Like,
Most of
LeBron
them
did it
don't.
once. Nobody else has ever done that.
No, it doesn't really happen.
This whole idea that
Doesn't really
Steph
happen.
Curry is going to go play for the Charlotte Hornets at the end of his career because his dad's a broadcaster there and he's from there.
Yeah.
Like, this stuff never makes sense to me. LeBron's the only one that did it. There was a very specific reason why he did it. I don't think LeBron ever goes back to Cleveland if he's not drafted by Cleveland as a rookie. I think like all that
probably
hometown
not.
stuff just goes away.
Yeah.
Like these
It
players are in the NBA for a long time. Kevin Durant has been in the league for a very long
Yeah.
time. He is this idea that the DMV is somehow his home now. He hasn't lived there for half his life. Who cares?
Just spitballing, Wes. That's my worst.
I know.
one.
I didn't
That's
mean
the
to take it
worst
out on
option
you.
I
I
have.
disagree
No, it's okay.
with the going home.
No,
storyline.
take it out of me. That makes good podcasting. That is my worst. That is my worst one. I will say. I think.
The Thunder thing has been batted around. I don't hate it. I just don't see Durant doing it.
I
just
could
like
see
he didn't go back to Golden
yeah.
State. It's
Well,
it's a little bit of a I left and I'm coming home, tail between my legs kind of thing. I just don't know that KD does it. And by the way, if I'm the Thunder, I don't know that I want to do that.
I think the Thunder could be tempted if they have like another we couldn't score in the playoffs again out this year. If that happens.
I think that's fair.
Then
And what is it? It would be like Hartenstein for salary. Would you have to give up J-Dub? Would you have to give up Jalen Williams? I don't know that I would want to do that.
I think you give up among your many insane picks. You know, it's just like
Yeah, it's just
Like
like
you-
it's like a Hartenstein, Aaron Wiggins, and eight first round
or
picks
like
package.
and like it's just you cash in the fake money you have on Durant.
Yeah, I guess if you're gonna have to spend those first round picks at some point anyway, I don't hate it. The Minnesota thing I thought was pretty cool as an idea.
Yeah.
I like the idea. So here's what I'm trying to figure out: Kevin Durant, his basketball legacy. Where can he go to sort of add something meaningful to his resume? Not that he needs it necessarily, but he's playing in the league. What else are you gonna do? So, going to Minnesota, helping that franchise win its first championship, and then being Anthony Edwards' shepherd, who I think Anthony Edwards has all the talent in the world. There's still just a couple things missing from his game. And I think being around KD and the professional that Durant is on and off the court and all that kind of stuff would be tremendously helpful to Anthony Edwards. And everybody knows how much Anthony Edwards admires and respects Kevin Durant. That would be a kind of cool way for Durant to sort of give back to the game that he loves. And that would kind of be his legacy is it was always about the love of the game more than it was about laundry for Kevin Durant or even fan bases. It was just pure hooper in the purest way. And here's my disciple, Anthony Edwards, and I'm going to teach him all the lessons of hooperism. And he's the young Jedi, and I'm going to let him go forth with all of these Star Wars powers, or however that movie works. So, that to me would be a kind of cool thing. What do you think about Minnesota? Still not my number one option, but I think it would be kind of neat.
I think it would be cool. I think Durant and Edwards together would be really entertaining to watch from a personality standpoint on top of a basketball standpoint. I think it kind of fits like the narrative of where Katie's in his career of like the Wolves kind of have this like weird path forward and Durant also is like running out of time. It's like both of these things kind of like collide together in a really interesting way. So I like that Wolves one. I'd be fascinated by that. And like Durant in that kind of market again fascinates me because it's really been he leaves OKC, where like by all accounts he was like very comfortable. There's like a really great book called Boomtown to read about him like having beers with guys like in local bars like randomly. Like
Lee Jenkins wrote a great profile on him.
yes, I think
That's
actually
Sports
I'm
Illustrated back in the day.
I'm misconstruing the Boomtown detail with the Lee Jenkins profile, but the anecdote's true. Goes to Brooklyn. Goes to
skipping
Golden
some steps
State.
there.
Goes to
Yeah.
goes to Golden State. Goes to Brooklyn. goes to Phoenix. He's never been like back in that like smaller market without all the wattage. Like Minnesota would be like a real kind of return to form there.
Yeah, it would be cool. Like he could just be cold. He'd get really into Prince for a while. I think it works. Do you have another one? Did you give me your 3?
Yeah, my last one is the Detroit Pistons.
Okay, sell me on it.
Here's the thing. This is not going to happen.
No.
There's 0% chance Kevin Durant is playing for the Pistons. But I was like, okay, where could he go?
All right. Can we do this?
Yeah.
We're back in the Hamptons, 2016 style. You're the Detroit Pistons. You're the group. What's your pitch to Kevin Durant to come to Detroit?
Kevin Durant, look, you've done a lot in your career. You've accomplished a lot. What you need now at the end of your career is a young star to attach yourself to. That's Cade Cunningham. You and Cade together is a great basketball fit. Just imagine how easy it is going to be for you to get off threes and operate the way you want to operate with Cade as your lead guy. And you can also help him grow into being the best version of himself. On top of that, you want to accomplish something. You want to go out on a note where you were chasing something great and helping a team and chasing something that is more than just the dysfunction you had in Phoenix and in Brooklyn, and you haven't had normalcy with JB Bickerstaff, with Cade Cunningham, with this era of Pistons basketball we are trying to usher in that you can be a part of and help accentuate and redefine what Kevin Durant is. Come to Detroit, pair with Cade, be a good influence on these young guys and help us rise up and go chase the top of the East and be that puncher chasing that spark again with the Detroit Pistons.
Draymond can sell him on Detroit, Michigan area, right?
Not sure that's helping.
No, but I think the history part of it, because Detroit is a storied organization. They've won championships.
Yes.
I think that's part of what attracted Kevin Durant to Phoenix a little bit. There is, I can help this team get over the top and restore past glory and everything. I know that they were in the finals a couple of years before the trade, but that's part of it. Can I tell you my number one option?
Yes, please.
It's not going to surprise you. It's the Miami Heat.
So I knew you were going to do them, and they were on my initial list.
So this is perfect to me. The Heat and Kevin Durant have been circling each other for years, since 2016. The Heat got a meeting in the Hamptons. Durant obviously went to Golden State instead. The Heat looked at Durant as the guy that they could replace LeBron with. All right, 2 years later. That didn't obviously work. They circle each other again when Durant becomes a free agent, goes to Brooklyn. He was pretty much intent on going to New York with Kyrie Irving, but Miami and Durant, they circled each other. Miami wanted him then. Then when Kevin Durant asked for a trade from Brooklyn, there was 2 teams on his list of preferred destinations. It was Phoenix and it was Miami. He obviously ends up in Phoenix. They circle each other again in February when Phoenix is openly shopping Kevin Durant. The Suns and the Heat did have conversations. They were reportedly very far apart, but those conversations happened. So they circle each other again there, and you know that got back to Kevin Durant, of course. So if you're Kevin Durant, and here's my sales pitch if I'm the Heat, all you have known basically since you've left Golden State in 2019 is instability. Instability in Brooklyn, instability in Phoenix, ownership changes in Phoenix, 3 or 4 different coaching changes between Brooklyn and Phoenix, teammates in and out, no sense of identity, no established culture, no structure. I cannot think of, if what you want leaving Phoenix is the opposite of the Phoenix Suns, there is no more opposite of the Phoenix Suns than the Miami Heat. Solid ownership, solid organization through and through, clear identity, clear organizational culture. You want stability? Come to Miami. We're not changing our coach. This owner ain't selling. Pat Riley's still here, and you've been Pat Riley's ultimate white whale for the last half decade. Complete Pat Riley's tenure. Give him his last championship. You want to talk history, Kevin Durant? Do that. Give back to the game. Be part of the Pat Riley story. You will love that. Do it in Miami. And here's the final selling point. You get to do it next to Bam Adebayo, who you've already won 2 gold medals with. And Dwayne Wade was talking about this on his podcast the other day about the formation of the Big Three, and everybody talks about, hey, it's in the Olympics that people like Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh have the conversations about maybe partnering up and their futures and all these things. And that is certainly true. And you've heard that happen even with KD and Kyrie Irving and all this stuff. But it's more than just the conversations. It's the proof of concept. When these players are playing for something in a tournament style, they say, oh, this works. Like you set good screens and I can pass to you and we play well off of each other, whatever it is. Kevin Durant has proof that him and Bam Adebayo can win at the highest level together. So now just come to Miami, play with Bam, play with Tyler Hero, play for Eric Spoelstra, play under Pat Riley. Let's go.
You sold me. And honestly, I think Durant as a personality would like mesh with Miami is like the thing. Like the quote unquote heat culture. I kind of think he would buy in, and I also think even as mercurial as I think we understand him as to some degree, and I don't even know if that's always fair. I don't think there's like the risk of the Jimmy Butler thing. Like if he's gonna get grumpy, he's still gonna like hoop and show up and do his job, for lack of a better way of saying it. Him, Bam, and Hero, and then whatever else you can patch around there. That's like a good way forward for Miami. I think Miami is the right. I think to me it's like Miami, San Antonio, and Detroit are the three that I would be most excited about. Actually, I can't put Detroit in count because it's not realistic. The realistic top three would be Miami, it would be San Antonio, and it would be the Knicks.
Yeah, I would. Is Minnesota just not realistic?
I just think their cap situation it's like, are they trading Gobert? Like what's the trade?
It would have to be like a Randall based package. Maybe there's a third.
But isn't he?
That gets complicated.
And then because he has to like opt in, and I think he's probably doing that. It just becomes like it's a little bit more complicated. Durant in a Knicks uniform also just like feels right in some way.
Yeah, LeBron did the Lakers thing. He can do the Knicks thing.
Yeah.
Watch
him end up on like the Mavericks. That'd be weird. All right, last big thing, Wes, and we can maybe we'll save the Steve Kerr. Well, you know what? Let's go into Steve Kerr.
Let's scratch the Steve Kerr thing. I don't know.
Okay. I think he's right, but I think there's like a lot of bigger issues. He's correct.
We need more time with that.
If you also watch the NBA, I'll just say if you watch NBA games, watch how often guys when they're inbounding the ball on the baseline don't actually follow the rule and like step out and then pass the ball. There's just a lot of lax little stuff going on there. Is all I want to say. Just watch. SGA is running away with MVP. He's had another 50 piece. And the betting odds, Wes, have shifted so in his favor that this just feels like fait accompli. He's winning MVP. Minus 1,000 for him, plus 550 for Jokic, and plus 2,500,000 for Giannis is the odds at BetMGM. This is done by all accounts. But this made me wonder this thing. Instead of like, is this an interesting MVP race? Does he deserve it? Because he does, and it's not really going to be an interesting MVP race. But it makes me wonder if the version of SGA we are seeing right now that is going to win MVP, that is scoring 50, that is taking over as a scorer in games in a way he didn't totally in the playoffs last year when they got eliminated. Can he be that dominant scorer guy that carries this into the playoffs and carries them through the playoffs? Because I think, to me, the big question about the Thunder for me is really that reliable secondary scoring when all the game planning is thrown at Shea. But is this version of SGA so good that maybe he can outweigh some of those concerns for the Oklahoma City Thunder in a playoff context?
The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
He's better than he was last year by
so much better.
Significant margin. The Thunder have they have the formula that's as old as the NBA itself. Singular dominant score, elite team defense. That is the oldest formula to win championships in the books. And the Thunder have both of those things in spades. They have the best one-on-one scorer in the league right now. And they have the best defense in the league right now. They 100% that is going to be enough. I understand that they have a hole. They're not a perfect team. I still have questions about Jalen Williams in the playoffs and things like that. I just think that Shea is so remarkably good. And the biggest difference between last year and this year is the pull-up three. He was shooting barely any of them. He was shooting like 2.5 pull-up threes per game and on a low percentage, low 30s last year. Over this 19-game stretch where he's got 4 50-point games, he's shooting over 40% on pull-up threes on twice the volume as he shot last year. If that pull-up three is part of his game, that step-back three, that pull-up three, it just dramatically changes everything that the Thunder are doing. And by the way, the volume has been up with him all year. His free throw percentages are up. His 3-point shooting overall is up above his career average. Like all those statistical indicators about to answer whether or not a player's 3-point shooting is improved, all of it's improved. He's made 100 3-pointers for the first time in a season in his career. Like he's a legitimately decent 3-point shooter now, and he's doing it on a lot of self-created looks. So he's the best one-on-one scorer in the league, I think by a fair margin.
Yeah.
And it's probably to me, it might be like 2019 Kawhi is what we might be getting ready to watch here in this postseason.
Yeah. He is an exclusive. I was reading this NBA.com story about him in this run he's on. He is one of 12 players all time who have 4 or more games in a season of 50 points or more. This is the list of guys. This is like all-time greats. Wilt, Jordan, Kobe, Elgin Baylor, Kareem, Lillard, Harden, and Pete Maravich. That's the list.
It's wild, man. Do you watch Severance?
I do. I'm.
Do you remember?
I'm through season 1, so no season 2 spoilers.
Oh, okay. So since the beginning of season 2, he has 4 50-point games. Do you remember when Sidney Sweeney sat courtside at that Knicks game?
Yeah.
This feels like yesterday, right? He's got 4 50-point games since that happened. It's crazy.
It's actually Sidney Sweeney sitting courtside at Knicks game is actually how we tell time now. We don't have calendars anymore.
It's before Sidney Sweeney and after Sidney Sweeney.
Yeah, it's just like etches on the wall. It's just like 1, 2. Yeah, we don't have days anymore. Just that. Yeah. God, he is as impressive of a scorer as like I can. It's like I'm trying to think of like the last time I was like wowed by a guy who was like so methodical in this way. Because like it might be Kawhi in 2019 to some degree.
Kawhi was brute force though. It was mesmerizing.
This is like footwork and angles, and it's
Kobe,
like
man.
It's Kobe, but it's like not as venomous. You know what I mean? It's like Kobe was like. It's also like more efficient. It's like I want to say this.
It's Kobe
kindly.
plus the chill guy meme.
Yeah, because it's like Kobe wasn't in post-game interviews being like, everything I do is consistent and making his teammates like geek out laughing behind him. Kobe was like, I'm gonna motherfucking kill this guy, and it was also like Kobe it was an era thing, but Kobe like dribbled more heavily. It was more like back to the basket like kind of stuff to some degree, and this is like. I'm going to take you from the perimeter and get to the spot and do this sort of old school thing, but with like a new age twist.
Yeah, he's got a step back, but it's a mid-range step back.
Yeah.
He's kind of invented this new mid-range step back. And what Shea will do is he lowers his shoulder. He gets really low to the ground, and it's almost like D-Wade-like in the way that he just gets really low to the ground. And then he goes full speed for like 2 or 3 steps, and then he'll just stop randomly. And then step back in a direction. He doesn't always step all like straight back. Sometimes he'll step to the side or step back or on an angle or whatever it is. And it's just this crazy like trying to catch a salmon in your hands kind of thing for a defender where you know what he's going to do, but you don't know when he's going to do it or necessarily how he's going to do it. So it's just still just as impossible to stop. It's kind of crazy. I don't know that I've ever seen a scorer do it quite the way that he does it.
What is the if we're thinking about them in the playoffs, Wes, and we can end on this note for him. When you look at the West and you look about what they could come up against, who is like the guy? Because I think if you get to think about the Eastern Conference final, like let's say they make the finals and it's Cleveland or Boston, it's like him getting defended by Drew or Tatum or Brown, or if it's Mobley or DeAndre Hunter, like that. Those sort of like battles are interesting on their own. But when you look at the West, is there a particular team or player that you would want to see how he handles that matchup in the West if they're going to go through it this year?
I mean, the obvious one is Jokic.
Well, I mean, like I mean, like him being defended. It's not even like him against the team. It's like who's defending him. Because I kind of want to see Clippers Thunder round 1.
That'd be cool.
They win that in like 5, but it's like I want to at least like see.
Chris Dunn's awesome, and Derrick Jones Jr. is a body that they can throw at him. I don't know,
just like do they throw Kawhi? Like like are we getting weird?
I kind of want to see maybe Houston.
I mean, Dylan Brooks trying to fight him would certainly be like a thing that would happen.
Yeah, they got Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason. They got a lot of bodies.
Oh, actually, Amen Thompson defending Shea is like we're seeing what's gonna come 3 years from now. Just now, yeah, it's tough. There's a real chance they just run this, isn't there? Like they just cruise.
Yeah, there's like both outcomes, right? Where maybe there's the one where it's sort of like the Celtics last year. Have we been overthinking this the whole time? This has clearly been the best team all year. They're just going to cruise and win the championship. Or there's the other outcome that's, yep, we've seen this before. Young team, really healthy for the most part, except for Chet Holmgren, and they win a bunch of regular season games, but they're too young and they still need experience.
The coolest part about it to me is if let's just say like one of the Lakers or the Nuggets gets them in the Western Conference Finals, which is I think where I would be leaning right now, that it's going to be like the Thunder versus one of those two teams. There is an element to both those series that is, I think, fully capable of testing them, and yet it could either break the other way. And like we're gonna know like by game 2 of that series like which way it's going. Like particularly if it's like the Lakers. It's like do LeBron and Luka, can they like do this thing? Or is this just gonna be like we overthought this kind of thing? I don't think the East teams are gonna be that way if it's Cleveland or Boston that get out of there, which you'd think it would. But I think the West has like the capability to absolutely be that.
Luka beat the Thunder last year, right? He's a tough matchup for them. So yeah, I have the Thunder obviously, and I know you have this too as a top tier team. It's them, Cleveland, Boston. Those are the clear favorites. I have the Nuggets tier by themselves below them. I think the Lakers are probably creeping into that Nuggets tier now. And then I guess we could debate the tiers under that. But
should we?
That's sort of where I'm at.
Are we due for some power rankings on Thursday? Maybe is that where we're headed?
We could do power rankings.
All right, Thursday, power rankings, Just Basketball Show. Come back then. This has been Chris Manning and Wes Goldberg on the Just Basketball Show. Have a great middle of your week, everyone. We'll be back with you on Friday morning, recording Thursday. Some NBA power rankings for the last month of the year. Tune in then. Thanks to BetMGM. Shout out to Ahmed. Shout out to eBay. We'll talk to y'all soon.